Scott, Pelath, state representative. I do dig your float this year, and I've noticed in years past. Why do you have Scott's walking on it, just for curiosity?
Well, it's from many years of experience doing this and many hard lessons learned. What happened, I always walk the route and I always shake hands, but I'll always have a vehicle that is completely empty of any human person. Well, I guess all people are human. Any living organism except for the driver. So people would always along the route say, well, where the heck is Scott? And so I'd have 2 or 3 people shaking my hands and know I was at the parade, and everyone else would think that I just ditched it. So I finally learned to put a sign on there and answer any questions in advance.
Talk to me a little bit about some of the stuff going on inside the state. Talk to the WIMS listeners. It's hard out there right now. A lot of economic tie downs with folks, between the gas and just jobs and just stuff in general. Everything's going up. What's your thought on that?
Well, I tell you what, there's no question about it. This is a time of enormous anxiety. Some of it has to do with the war in Iraq. A lot of it has to do with our international economy. Folks just, they look around and they see that a few people are doing really well, but the average folks are paying $4 at the pump. They're also have anxiety about what their job situation is going to look like because they see the international trade situation. They see jobs moving overseas, and they wonder how America is going to be able to compete. You wrap all these things together, and it means that people are, I think, ready to try to take the country in a new direction. And it's going to be a very interesting 4 months. Do we have 4 months till the election, or is it 5?
Let's go.
Let's go with 5 months. There's going to be, I think, a great debate in our country and in our state about the direction we're going to go, and it's one that we absolutely need to have. But what I think is most important, both at the presidential level, at the gubernatorial level, once the nation makes its decision, we need to come together, because I think people are fatigued more than anything else with the divisiveness they see, with the tone that exists in campaigns, with the way that politicians too often just want to speak in slogans and little sound bites instead of talking in a substantive way about the issue. I mean, people have caught on to these things, and they want real answers. They want honest answers about how we can make our country and our state better. And I think that's what we have ahead of us more than anything else.
Excellent.
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Can we talk a little bit about the Great Lakes Compact?
Yes.
And once you give me a brief history about it, I know it, but I'd like our listeners to know everything about it.
One thing we're very concerned about in the Great Lakes region is that so much of our world's population has moved to areas where there's not any fresh water.
Right, not too smart, actually.
Well, what we know is that there's going to be a tendency in years to come, and actually it exists now, to try to divert Great Lakes water to other parts of the country, other parts of the world that don't have sufficient fresh water. Now, this ties into other problems we're having with the lakes with respect to lake levels. How does climate change possibly play into things in terms of exacerbating natural lake cycles? So all these things have caused the Great Lakes states, the governors, the legislatures to come together and said, look, we need to stick together. We need to protect this resource for the future. We need to make sure people don't take the water. And we also need to make sure that it's environmentally and biologically healthy for many years to come. So what we've done is we now have 8 Great Lakes states, 2 provinces in Canada have ratified, 9 of them have now ratified or about to ratify an agreement that will say nobody can take our water, and if you take water out, you have to put it back in. Pennsylvania still has a little bit more work to do. I don't think that's going to be a major roadblock. Once that's done, Congress can ratify the compact. It will have the force of federal law.
That's great, especially me being the outdoorsman that I am, that we're very in tune to what's going on in the Great Lakes, especially last year with the whole BP fiasco and IDEM and everything going on, and a lot of confusion happening with what was actually going on in the permit process, and the Great Lake Compact coming out, which I think is a wonderful thing because, the lake right now is almost 2 feet below normal pool. Now, granted, the lake does move through cycles every, I think it's 60 or 90 years.
It does.
But, if we start pumping the water back and we're not getting the water back from these, outside of our basin area, the water's just going to keep going down and down and down and down.
That's exactly right. And also looking down the road, the specter of climate change is out there. And we don't know if the current lake level problems are being caused by climate change, but we do know if there is climate change, there will be lower lake levels.
Exactly.
And so that's something we have to prepare for in order to mitigate any things that states are able to help with. The other thing, too, is that we have to remember that a compact like this is just a beginning, because I think the next great battle is going to be over the horrible problem we have with invasive species in the lake.
Yes,
and,
which
we're going to have to look at like treatment of ship ballast water from international ships that come into the St. Lawrence Seaway in the Great Lakes. We have to figure out how to prevent really an ecological disaster within the lake. So it's still there for sportsmen like you. And I used to fish a lot too, but not as much as I used to, unfortunately.
Oh, you still need to fish even though you're busy downstate, you know.
I know. Every not a week goes by I don't tell myself it's time to go throw a pole in the water, even if it's just standing out on the pier trying to get some perch.
I'll take you out. Just give me a call. I've been doing really well on a perch. Just give me a call. You can get a hold of me through the radio station.
One good thing is, I mean, it's not all bad news about the lakes. The perch were a little bit better than they were 10 or 12
years ago with the taking away the commercial fishing is what really has brought the perch back to life here on the southern end of Lake Michigan.
That's right. And, you know, my grandfather actually was a commercial fisherman on Lake Michigan.
Which one was it?
He worked at Furnace Fisheries.
Okay, he worked at Furnace? Okay.
And, as a matter of fact, that's why my family's here in this town, because of the fish in that lake. And it's very tragic in a lot of ways that we see. You know, I know my grandfather used to run sturgeon lines. Sturgeon are now basically extinct.
Right.
But we have all sorts of. We also know that there's problems with whitefish in terms of the food chain for whitefish. I mean, you hear talks about folks getting a hold of a whitefish and there's barely enough to fillet on there.
Yeah, but if you know what time of year to go for the whitefish, with this, the water has to be really cold. So you're talking December, January until the ice up, and that's when you can get the whitefish. And we've caught them up to 6 pounds.
Well,
but you just got to know exactly when to go.
And that's an example. The type of thing, though. That's the type of fish that used to be bountiful.
Oh yeah,
in the lake
everywhere.
And now it's now you hear about it being a little bit more of a rarity.
Right.
That's the kind of thing we need to. We can't always undo everything that's been done, but we need to keep it as healthy as we can. And it's just it's the most vital resource we have, certainly here regionally.
Well, thanks for talking with us, and look forward to talking to you on the radio.
Anytime. Thank you.
Thank you.